in love. What a tale my thoughts would tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well in a castle dark.
So, Michael, what I was seeing from you is that you are really trying to talk back to her when she's talking. But we need to have it be very spontaneous. As she speaks, you talk back, but we need to make sure it leads into your lines. Because what I was feeling, Michael, everything that you're doing is great, but it's like you've decided how you're going to say your lines, and then your thoughts don't lead up to that decision. And I don't want you to decide how you're going to say your lines. The line has to come out of your subtext. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Because all of a sudden, you'll be thinking and you're thinking, and I see you thinking, and you're talking, and then all of a sudden you go, but that's not why. And it comes out of nowhere. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. I think
because you've decided that you're going to say that line that way, right? And you can't say a line anyway unless your thoughts have brought you there, right?
Okay.
And you can't decide, okay, I'm going to say this line this way, I'm going to say this line this way, because then it becomes all way too premeditated. You can say what you want to do with your lines, right? And you've got to get there with what the other person triggers you to do, okay? And you don't need to memorize your subtext, but you do need to know what the other person is making you think and feel that's going to make you say your line. And sometimes that other character is going to trigger you a little differently than they do another time. And you don't want to ever feel like you've ever said this before, or ever thought this before, or ever experienced this before. So you can't expect anything. If you do expect something, it may not turn out to be exactly the opposite of what you expected, because it's brand new. It's never happened before. So you have to be surprised, confused, and all the things that you are when somebody hits you with something you didn't know was going to happen, right?
Yep.
The other thing I learned about regarding reaction thoughts is I think I need to make them a little bit more natural, because I think sometimes I have a habit of thinking something that's not too specific, but it almost like feels like I came up with it to fit in with the show, like
too wordy. You're thinking too wordy.
Yes,
rather than just a natural. Your reaction thoughts need to be spontaneous, and so sometimes it's just like, well, that's a bunch of BS, because it's just what would come out easily, right? You wouldn't have a complicated. You want to have something that would pop out, right?
Yeah.
And it needs to be vivid. Okay. Yes. So it's not about being detailed. It's about being spontaneous and vivid.
I think it was very important when you pointed out that you need very specific thoughts for other people's lists too. So not just when you are listing things, but when other people are listing things as well. And also you pointed out that there can be many thoughts to choose from, but sometimes some thoughts are stronger than others. So choose the strongest one, or look for the strongest one.
Yeah, the thing that makes you feel the most. That's what thoughts are really all about. I had this long discussion with my son about what comes first, feelings or thoughts or feelings. And there was somebody on Reddit today that was talking about how they're more of a word person, so they have to try to have more imagery in their imagination when they're acting, like to try to make their to be in their environment more. They need to try to imagine their environment. Really, it's really more about words than it is imagery. Some people need imagery, right? That seeing it is the better way for them than words. For me, it's always the words that bring the imagery. Like if you say, wow, this place is beautiful, as I say, this place is beautiful, I get an image of someplace beautiful. It's the words that trigger the imagery. Or if you say, wow, this alley is really dark, I shouldn't be here. Right? Doesn't that automatically trigger an image in you when I say the words of that dark alley?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Or if you say, what in the hell is that smell? Right? If I'm saying that, if I'm thinking those words, doesn't it immediately make you smell something bad? You know, what in the hell is that smell? So it's the words to me that trigger feelings, they trigger imagery. Like I always say to people, don't spend so much time trying to imagine the forest that you forget to go hunting. The same with you. You're trying to imagine that you're in, a prison. But what you really want to do is not get killed by your new roommate, right? And you've got to be really concentrating on that. It helps to imagine that you're caught in those bars and that you're there together. And there's no way that you can escape this guy. You have to share this tiny little room with him with a toilet and a sink there. It's good to have that, to know that that's there. But is that really what your character is thinking when the guy walks through those doors, those bars? What your character is thinking is, oh man, this is going to be hell. This killer is now sharing my room. Right? So it's what your character is thinking in the moment that really counts. I think words are so powerful. You're thinking words, right? Thoughts are words. We actually think sentences, don't we? What are you doing here? What's that tone of voice I hear? Right? You think in sentences, don't you? I do. Do you? Do you think in sentences? So isn't that what your character needs to do too? What did you learn today, Till?
And I have to work on being in the character, the whole scene, and let the character speak through me by thinking the thoughts and working on my subtext real hard.
Right. Good. It's just a constant thing. It's not like you can think a little bit, rest a little bit, think a little bit, rest a little bit. There's no resting. There's no vacations in acting. You just have to be thinking all the time. Because when you're thinking about what the other person is saying, it's all in reaction, right? It's in reaction to what they're saying. And you're talking back to them. When you're talking, what are you thinking about?
The other person I'm talking to, probably the image I have about that, but also like just
when you're talking, you're thinking about making your words understood to the other person, right? You've got to make the words as effective as you possibly can. What do you mean by your words? You're thinking about the meaning of every word that you say, right? Because right now I'm talking to you, and what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about what word could I say to get this point across? How can I say this the best to get you to understand? So that's what we are all thinking when we're talking. We're thinking about our words that we're saying. If we're not thinking about our words, then the words won't even mean anything, because you've got to think what the word means in order to give it any meaning. When you say the word disgusting, right? You got to think what disgusting means, or it just is disgusting. It's disgusting. But it's disgusting is different, isn't it? Because I'm thinking, yuck, that's horrible, right? So as you speak, you're thinking about what your words mean. When the other person is speaking, you're talking back and reacting to them. And that goes on constantly.